Okay, so I have way too many books that I want to read for Nonfiction November. I have been looking forward to this for quite a few months now. I have way too many books I want to read, and I need you to help me decide what is going on the official TBR for Nonfiction November. So hi, my name is Talia. I love books, I love bandanas. I'm so excited that you're at my channel today. I am so excited for Nonfiction November. I love reading nonfiction. I'm planning to read a lot of it during November, but even I know that I have too many books right now. I'm having such a hard time narrowing them down. So today I'm just gonna go through the options I have for Nonfiction November, and I would love if you could please leave me a note in the comments telling me what you think I should read. If it's one you have read or one you've been thinking about reading that sounds interesting, one you want to hear a review on, please let me know. Help me with this decision because I am spinning my wheels here trying to decide which of these books I'm going to read. So let's just jump right into it and I'll show you what I have. So let's get the book haul bag. I got these books on the way home from the coast recently. And so the store was having a big sale, like everything was 50% off and they already had some great deals. So I got all these books for $18 and they're like some good hardcovers too. So I thought 18 bucks was a pretty good haul for this stack. So I'm gonna go through, tell you about these books, tell you about the nonfiction I already had that I was thinking of reading, and then you can tell me what you think. Okay, sound good? Let's go. Okay, so first of all, the Red Bandana. I mean, I feel it's pretty important I read this book because, hello, I always wear bandanas. And I didn't know what this was about until recently. I actually had checked this book out from the library and then I never read it and had to return it. But when it was there and super cheap, I picked up a copy. So this is actually about a guy during 9/11 who ended up passing away. Before he passed away, he saved a bunch of people. And this came to light when people were sharing their stories like in the months and years following 9/11, and a bunch of them kept talking about this guy wearing a red bandana, and he and talking about like how he went out of his way to help them. So this is kind of the story of how his life ended, giving his last moments and last minutes to save people. So super curious to read his story. His name is Wells Crowther. So that's one option. Okay, Never Quit. This is about pararescue operator Jimmy Settle. And he was like a store clerk somewhere in rural Alaska and ended up joining the military, being a pararescue operator, I think training in Alaska, and then ended up serving in the military. So I just thought that would be a really interesting story to read as well. Also military, The Long Road Home, a story of war and family. This tackles, so it's one of the deadliest periods in the history of the Iraq War. It's called Black Sunday is the time period that this takes place in. And it kind of goes over this surprise attack that happened and then what happened to the soldiers during that time. It was like a 48-hour period where no one knew what had happened to them, and their families didn't know if they were dead or alive. Yeah, I think it's really interesting because this obviously happened during my lifetime. 2004, I was in college, but I really have no idea about that at all. That's not a time period where I was paying attention to what was going on in the world. I was just in school getting my biology degree, kind of like blinders down. So I'm really curious to read this as well. Oh yes, this one, 50. So this is a story about an American couple who heard about all the Jewish children that were being persecuted and killed and in terrible situations in Germany and Austria. So they traveled over to Germany to save a bunch of children during that time, and it's their story of how that took place. So 50 children is also on the list. Okay, we're moving into a little bit lighter stories, I think. First of all, look how cool this is. It's called Our Story. It's by Rao Pingru. And it's made to look like old, like the cases ripped off, but it's not, it's brand new. So this book is about a husband's telling of his life with his wife, and he started writing this book at age 87, I believe. Yeah, at 87 years old, he's mourning the life of his wife, and he basically is like, I want to write down and draw pictures and make something to dedicate to her and our lives together. So this book has beautiful illustrations that the author did, and just all sorts of stories and just tellings of his life with his wife. It captures, I think, from his age 22 till up in his late 80s, and covers the loss of his wife. And when I held this book in my hands, I was like, this is so beautiful. So I hope the story is as good as I imagine it should be, because it just looks so pretty and so fun. So that's the last one that I bought at the coast. I also have some books that were already on my shelf that I really want to read. So Kon-Tiki, this is, I don't know if it's called a classic, but I feel like it's been around for a long period of time. This is about a ship adventure, and that's pretty much all I know. It's a ship adventure, and it's pretty famous, and it's a journey 4,300 nautical miles across the Pacific Ocean by raft. So I've heard really good things about this. This is high on my list of things to read. Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer. I read Into the Wild earlier this year and loved it. I have a feeling this is going to be amazing. Jon Krakauer actually was part of this disaster. It's a disaster on Mount Everest, I believe. And he actually was there and documented his experience for this disaster that took place, which I'm really excited for, because he did such a good job with Into the Wild, and he wasn't even there. He just researched it and learned about Chris McCandless' life, and did such a good job making you feel like you were there, and he wasn't even there. So I have a feeling this is going to be even better. So very excited for that one as well. Okay, I got this book a while ago at the dollar store. I was so excited because hardcover, perfect condition, $1. So Colin O'Brady, The Impossible First. This is his story of crossing Antarctica alone and being the first man to do so. I can't even imagine. I don't do the cold well, so I don't think crossing Antarctica sounds fun at all, except for maybe to look at the penguins for a minute or two. But yeah, I just can't imagine the grit and determination you would have to cross Antarctica all by yourself, pulling just a sled of your stuff and just being completely alone, surrounded by ice and nothingness. I think this sounds really interesting as well. Okay, last one, Endurance by Scott Kelly. This is a space memoir. I've talked about in the past how I really like space books. And I've read a couple space memoirs. Scott Kelly's has been on my radar for a while. A few years back, I'm not sure how long ago this was, maybe 5 years ago when he was in space. He set the record for being the person to be in space for the longest period of time in the International Space Station. I think that record's already been broken a couple of times since then. But his work is really important because he has a twin brother who actually was on the ground. And it's neat because they were able to study long-term effects of space travel on him, but then have kind of a person on the Earth with very similar, identical DNA, but to compare their effects, and as they age, see what long-term effects long-term space travel has on your body, which obviously is important as we're researching longer term stays on the moon and eventual travel to Mars. It's just really interesting. And so I was following him on, it must have just been Facebook or something, when he was in space, and he would just send the most beautiful images of Earth and just say profound things when he was up there, and he really caught my attention. So I am super excited to read this as well. So you can see where the problem is. I have 9 books that I want to read. I obviously cannot read them all in November. I'm gonna read them all eventually. I'd like to have like kind of a mix, like, because there's some like that sound like super tough war stories, you know, they're gonna be challenging to get through, and then I have a mix of lighter things as well, some adventure. I just don't know what to do. So let me know. Let me know what you think. Have you heard of any of these books? Have you read any? Did you hate any of them? Like, should I just put some aside and not read them at all? Let me know what you think. I would love to hear, and then I will circle back in a week or so with the final TBR for Nonfiction November. Okay? I hope you're doing well wherever you are. I hope you take some time today to read a good book or two, and that you are planning some Nonfiction November reads as well. Oh yeah, also, if there's something I don't even have on this list and you're like, no, Talia, no, you need to read this for Nonfiction November, tell me. I'm totally open. There's hundreds of nonfiction books I want to read out there, so let me know, and if I don't hit it this month, I can add it on the TBR for future months or maybe next year. So yeah. Okay, where was I? Okay, if you're having a bad hair day, just wear a bandana. Bye.